Turkey, a country in Western Asia with part of it located in southeastern Europe. Turkey or Turkey, Turkish language Türkiye, officially the Republic of Turkey, Turkish language Türkiye Cumhuriyeti pronounced Türkiye, Republic, is a Eurasian country spanning the Anatolian Peninsula in Southwest Asia and the Balkans region of Southeast Europe. Overview of Turkey's land and settlement information. Turkey shares its borders with 8 countries including the north. Bulgaria to the west, Greece to the northeast. Georgia, Armenia, Iran and Azerbaijan in the east. The region of Nakhchivan and includes Iraq and Syria in the southeast. In addition, the country borders the Black Sea in the north. On the west by the Aegean Sea and the Sea of Marmara, and on the south meets the Mediterranean Sea. Turkey is a republican constitutional democracy. The current political system was formed under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Ataturk after the fall of the Ottoman Empire in 1923. He was a founding member of the United Nations and the Islamic world in 1949. It has been a member of the European Council since 1952 and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization since 1952. While the European Union has been in negotiations for accession for a long time. Due to its strategic location between Europe and Asia, Turkey is east and west. Located at the historical crossroads of cultures. The present area of modern Turkey is one of the oldest areas of the world where human civilization has existed continuously. The areas of Çatalhöyük, Çayono, Nuali, Uri, Kajalur, Göbekli Tepe and Mersin are among the earliest human settlements. The history of the Anatolia region of Turkey is very ancient. Man has been here since the Stone Age. In the area around the Black Sea, there are traces of population 10,000 years ago. For convenience, we can divide the history of Turkey into these periods. Prehistoric era, before 2500 BC. Bronze Age, from 2500 BC. 700 BC. Iron Age 700 BC to 330 AD. Roman Byzantine period 330 AD to 1453 AD. Seljuk period 1071 AD. 1300. From Ottoman period 1299 AD. 1923. From Republican era from 1923 to present. Prehistory 2500 BC to 700 BC. In ancient times, this period is called the Bronze Age because most of the tools and utensils were made of bronze. After 2500 BC, the Hittites began to gain a foothold in Anatolia. They were farmers of Indo-European origin. They established a great empire in the Anatolian region. Their laws were more humane than those of contemporary civilizations. Throughout his reign, Anatolia was invaded by other nations. His religion was polytheism, in which he worshipped multiple gods. What did they worship? The empire reached its peak around 1400 BC, with the king as the head of the priesthood. Gradually it declined and was replaced by several. Even the civilizations took it. At the same time, the Assyrians also occupied a part of Anatolia. Their original homeland was the fertile valley between the Tigris and the Euphrates, which is called Mesopotamia. From here it travels up the Tigris and Euphrates to Anatolia. Occupied. Throughout this period, small states remained in different regions of Turkey. From the western side it was under the influence of the Greek nations, while from the eastern side it was under the influence of the ancient kingdoms of Iraq. During this period, the Ionian, Phrygian, and Troy civilizations flourished in western Turkey. Iron Age, 700 BC to 330 BC. The Iron Age began with Sayyidina Dawood. According to the Holy Quran, Allah had softened iron in his hands, due to which he established a vast kingdom of iron. During the time of his son Sayyiduna Sulayman, peace and blessings be upon him, there was extraordinary development of industries other than iron. The winds were tamed, the treasures of the sea were explored, grand buildings were built. It was a sign of his scientific development that the queen of a developed country like Yemen also felt like a villager when she reached his palace. This development spread from Israel to other nations in the empire. During this period, Western Turkey came under the influence of Lydian Empire and Eastern Turkey came under the influence of Büyükmenşe Empire of Iran. In 334 BC, this region was conquered by Alexander of Greece, but his successors could not manage such a large empire and it was divided into fragments. After that, the rule of the Seleucid Empire of the Greeks remained here for a long time until 63 AD. Stayed up of the Armenians for some time in between. The government also remained here. After some time, the Romans gained ascendancy and their conquerors conquered all of Anatolia and made it part of Rome. Initially it was a democratic government, but later it changed to a monarchy. They accept Turkey. He captured the present Syria, Jordan, Palestine and Egypt. It was during this period that Sayyidina Isa, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was sent. After you, a large number of your followers made Turkey their abode and continued dua and preaching activities here. Roman period 330. From 1453 AD. Around 300 AD, the majority of the entire region had adopted the Christian religion. In 330 AD, the Roman Emperor Constantine accepted Christianity and declared it the official religion. This is the king who ordered the establishment of the great city of Constantinople on the site of the present-day Istanbul, which was declared as his capital. Before that it was a small city called Byzantium. The Middle Ages. During the 7th century, the Muslims conquered Syria and eastern Turkey, reducing the Roman Empire to western Anatolia. In 1037 AD, Tuğrul Beg founded the Seljuk Empire in this area. Eastern and central Anatolia were ruled by the Seljuks and western Turkey by the Romans. After the collapse of the Seljuk Empire, the Ottoman Turks emerged from its remnants and established their rule over eastern Turkey. 13 in the 18th to 18th century BC, the Hattis settled here, formed the first big state. Ruins of the Library of Ephesus, 135 AD. In the ancient age, this area was the center of wars between the Greeks and the Persians. Sometimes the Persians occupied this area and sometimes the Greeks. The area came to the Romans in the 1st century AD 324. In BC, the ruler Constantine I founded the city of Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul, and made it the capital of the Roman Empire. Later, after the division of the Roman Empire, it became the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire. The Muslims conquered the eastern regions of present-day Turkey in their early conquests, but the central regions of Anatolia, did not become a Muslim state until the arrival of the Seljuks in the 9th century. Genghis Khan on Balad Islamia, invasion, the Turks migrated from Central Asia and made Anadolu their homeland. The great victory of the Seljuks over the Romans in the Battle of Malaskar decided the future of the region, and thus most of Turkey became part of the Islamic Empire forever. After the fall of the Seljuks, the Ottomans emerged on the political scene of Turkey, forming the greatest state in Islamic history, the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire lasted for 631 years and was the most powerful political force in the world in the 16th and 17th centuries. As a result of the conquests of the Ottomans, Islam reached Central Europe, and the region of Eastern Europe remained under the control of Muslims for a long time. After the period of decline, the Ottoman Empire sided with Germany in the First World War and was eventually defeated and collapsed. According to the Treaty of Sevres, Treaty of Ceres, concluded after the war, the victorious Allies divided the Ottoman Empire into various parts. On September 19, 1919, the Turks declared an independence movement against the Allied aggression, led by Mustafa Kemal Pasha, a military commander. On 19-19-22, all the invading forces were expelled from Turkey and a new state was formed which was called the Republic of Turkey. On November 1, 1922, the Turkish Majlis Parliament abolished the Caliphate, thus ending the 631-year-old Ottoman Empire. In 1923, under the Treaty of Lausanne, the international community recognized the newly formed Republic of Turkey. New date. Over the next few years, Mustafa Kemal, whom the Turks called the Great Ataturk, the father of the Turks, carried out reforms. These reforms, carried out in the name of modernization, were actually a large-scale attempt to eradicate the religious identity of the country. The transition of the script of the Turkish language from Arabic to Latin and the declaration of adoption of secularism are noteworthy. Mustafa Kemal, who was given the title of Ataturk, father of the Turks, by the nation in recognition of his great services, died in 1938. His deputy, İsmet İnönü, became the country's second president and continued Ataturk's reforms. Dealing with World War II, Turkey initially remained neutral, but in the latter stages supported the Allies out of goodwill and later became a founding member of the United Nations. After the Second World War, Greece's difficulties in the Communist rebellion and the Soviet demands to establish military bases in the Turkish Straits, Daniel and Bosphorus, resulted in Turkey leaning towards the US and the West. In this regard, the West military and economic support was provided to Turkey on a large scale. In 1952, after the North Atlantic Treaty, Turkey participated in the United Nations forces in the Korean conflict, joined NATO. In July 1974, Turkey invaded Cyprus due to the widespread atrocities of the Christian Greek population on the Turkish Muslims in Cyprus, which resulted in the establishment of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, which has not been recognized by any country except Turkey. Even today, the island of Cyprus is divided into two parts. C. The Cyprus problem. According to the Turkish constitution, the armed forces have been declared as the defenders of the Turkish constitution and national security. In this way, the military has had the opportunity to subvert democracy by rebelling on various occasions and has overthrown democratic governments several times, the most important of which was the 1960 coup against the reforms of Prime Minister Adnan Menderes, who exposed the country to the new concepts of Latinism and lifted the unnecessary restrictions imposed on religion, especially Islam. The army seized power and put Adnan and his associates on the throne. Fed up with the coalition governments that failed to maintain peace and order in the country in the 1970s, the army once again took power in September 1980. Several thousand people were rounded up under martial law. Several thousand of them were declared guilty of sabotage and had to suffer the hardships of imprisonment, and many were sentenced to death. 1982. A new constitution was enacted in Turkey. In 1989, Turgut Özal became the president in place of the military chief. President Özal developed the Turkish economy on modern lines and raised the status of Turkey at the international level. He died in 1993. In May 1993, Prime Minister Süleyman Demirel was elected president. In June 1993, former Economy Minister Tansu Çiller was elected head of the Rahat Party, replacing Demirel, becoming Turkey's first female prime minister. Despite all the tactics used to suppress Islamists, their strength in Turkey continues to grow, and in the 1995 elections, the Islamist Rafa Party emerged as the largest party for the first time, and Najm, who has a clear Islamic point of view, emerged as the largest party. Adin Erbakan became the Prime Minister of Turkey. His relationship with the National Security Council became strained after the Islamist views of the Rafa Party. There were also fears that the new government would not destroy Turkey's Ladin system in its policy towards the West. Finally, under pressure from the National Security Council, Erbakan resigned in June 1997 and was banned from politics for life. The most benefited from the political upheaval due to this was the Democratic Left Party of Bülent Ecevit, and they first formed a coalition government with the Motherland Party and later Çok Rahat Party. As a result of the national and local elections held on April 18, 1999, a coalition of the Democratic Left, the Motherland Party, and the Nationalist Action Party of Chile formed a government in which Bülent Ecevit remained the prime minister. The former head of the Constitutional Court of Turkey, Supreme Court, Ahmet Necdet Sezer, was elected as the president of Turkey on May 5, 2000. He took the oath of office on May 16. Picked up. This government made a plan of constitutional and economic reforms in the first year. In particular, it included points that would have improved Turkey's chances of membership in the European Union, but doubts about the government's ability to implement these reforms, as well as an economic fraud, led Turkey to withdraw from the EU in February 2001. Caught in economic crisis, as the crisis deepened, sales of the Turkish lira on the open market increased, due to which the government had to reduce the value of the lira by 40%. Interest rates and prices of consumer goods started to increase rapidly, and employment opportunities also started to decrease. Among the other issues affected by the crisis were the government's generous measures for economic stability and the inflation-busting program supported by an $11 billion loan from the International Monetary Fund. To deal with these situations, the Prime Minister appointed Kemal Darwish, a former Vice President of the World Bank, as the Minister of Economy in March 2001. To support the government in several economic and operational terms and in grassroots economic stabilization and budgeting, he managed a total of $10 billion in loans from the International Monetary Fund till May 2001. In February 2002, the International Monetary Fund approved an additional $9 billion in loans and promised another $5 billion in installments throughout the year on the condition that Turkey adjust its economic terms in light of their advice. However, tension continued in the government coalition. The terms of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, especially the privatization of government institutions and the slowness of political terms, were major causes of conflict. 60 members of the Assembly, Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister of his own Democratic Left Party also resigned. As a result of these resignations, as well as pressure from both opposition parties and other parties in the government coalition, the Turkish parliament had to decide to hold new elections on November 3, 2002, 18 months before the scheduled time.